The NFL world is less than a week away from free agency, and the franchise tag deadline was this afternoon. It's already passed, and there were only a few. I think it was 3 NFL franchise tags and 1 transition tag. And the man that we're going to discuss today is finally going to be, after years of turmoil and going through it, a free agent. Coming from Ian Rappaport's Twitter account, says the Bengals are not franchise tagging star pass rusher Trey Hendrickson. Per him and Tom Pelissero, one of the NFL's best is free. And free at last. I mean, this dude has been held hostage by the Cincinnati Bengals for years. For absolute years. A couple of years ago, he requested a trade. They told him no. Then he requested a trade. They let him seek it, but nothing came out of that. Then last year, he held out a training camp and he wanted a new contract, but instead of that, they gave him kind of, I think it was almost a $20 million deal for this 1 year. And then we assumed that he was going to be a free agent this offseason. Then about 3 weeks ago, it came out that the Cincinnati Bengals might hit Trey with the franchise tag. Well, thank goodness for him and many other NFL teams, they decided not to do that. And for the first time, I believe since he left the Saints, he is going to be a free agent. Let's take a look at his stats. Now, as you can see, I'm a Detroit Lions fan, and I've been kind of going after Trey. I've been campaigning for Trey for a long time. I would love this man on the team. Even at 31 years old, he was the sack leader in 2024, and he still got it. Now, yes, he's coming off an injury. I think that's going to decrease his value just a little bit. And there is a connection between the Detroit Lions head coach and Trey Hendrickson. They spent some time in at the New Orleans Saints. But if we take a look at 6'4", drafted in the 3rd round, 2017, 31. So the good news is he's a fresh 31. He will be 31 for the majority of the season. Now, Trey Hendrickson is younger than Khalil Mack, and Khalil Mack is still performing at a high level for his age. 5.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles in 2025. I don't think that age is going to be as big of a deal as some people make it when it comes to NFL players. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I would probably say maybe the injury is more concerning than the age. But again, Khalil Mack had a great year. The past 2 years for him have been down, but still overall, and Spot Track has him valued at $18 million. But we'll take a look at Trey's in a second. So 2025, 11 solo tackles, 4 sacks, 1 forced fumble. Now, again, he played limited games due to, I want to say it was an abdominal issue, I believe it was. Again, with him being a 3rd round pick, he didn't get a 5th year option. So the connection with Dan Campbell and the Saints is here. So he spent his first 4 years with the Saints. Then he left in free agency to the Cincinnati Bengals. And I want to say as early as 2023, he's wanted to leave. I think 2023 is when he requested a trade and they denied him. And then 2024, he requested one. They let it happen. And 2025, and all of these years, he was still under contract. He wanted an extension. They did not give it to him, and they played around. And now, thankfully, I think the Bengals are like one of the dumbest organizations. They're cheap. I just don't think the Bengals know what they're doing. But very similar to the Detroit Lions, they've never won a Super Bowl, but at least they've been there. But I just think some of the decision making that they make, there's a reason the rookie held out. I think it was last offseason. He wanted to make sure his contract language was right. And I think that it would have happened with probably a number of teams, but especially with the Cincinnati Bengals, man. You just can't go when it comes to them. That's one place I would not want to land is Cincinnati. I just don't like the way they do business over there. So if we take a look at Trey Hendrickson and his market value, but before that, let's go back and look at he only played 7 games in 2025, and he had 4 sacks coming off a 35 sack, 235, like combined 35 sacks. In his sophomore year, he had no sacks, so he's been getting better over time. And then had his career year back-to-back in 23 and 24. And in 2023, the Detroit Lions really could have used a guy like him. And in 2024, when Hutch went down, I would love him to land on my team, but I don't think that that's going to happen. So even playing 7 games, he still managed to get 4 sacks and 1 forced fumble. Let's take a look at his market value. I've looked at this before, made a video about him on my Lions channel, and it's pretty. So you're talking about $25 million for 2 years. $25 million for 2 years. I want to say that that's more than he's made before. Before the injury, this was about $30 million. So that injury, Trey Hendrickson coming off that injury, has saved the team $5 million. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that he has to sign a deal like this. It could be a 1-year deal, a longer deal. One thing Trey Hendrickson does want is a little bit of security. That was one of the things when he was with Cincinnati. He wanted security. So he wanted a multi-year deal. So I would assume that he's not going to go for a 1-year deal. He'll probably go for a 2-year deal or more. $25 million is where that would put him. He would be ranked 55 in the NFL. It will put him with Kyle Van Noy, Khalil Mack, Danielle Hunter, and TJ Watt. I think that's reasonable. Again, earlier this offseason, during the year, when this was the market value said $30 million. So a team is going to save probably $5 million. That's if we go with this estimate here. So $50 million for 2 years for a guy that will turn 32 during the NFL season. If you were to have him for those 2 years, then you would keep him at 32, 33, and then he would become a free agent at 33 and a half, I believe it is. So looking at Trey's age, the fact that he has now been in the NFL, if we go back, he spent 4 seasons with the New Orleans Saints. He spent another 5 with the Cincinnati Bengals. So he's going on into year 10. Looking at Trey Hendrickson, the timing, the age, the contract, market value, I'm thinking that Trey Hendrickson probably has, unless he calls it quits, he's probably have 2 good contracts in him. He's going to, if he does get a 2 to 3 year deal, that's going to take him till the mid-30s, and then he can either decide to, or the soon to mid-30s, then he can decide to either hang it up or he could try for one last contract. I think whatever Khalil Mack decides to do, I think will be the end, like the last thing he does in his NFL career. So I think that this is a great thing for Trey Hendrickson. He has been trying to get out of Cincinnati for literal years, and they finally, after the runaround for literal years, they've finally decided to not hold him hostage, because that would have been messed up. You could have franchise tagged him and held him hostage for another year. And honestly, it doesn't look like the Cincinnati Bengals defense is going to get any better. They had one of the worst in the NFL. I mean, I don't know if it was worse than the Detroit Lions. I believe that the Cincinnati Bengals had the worst defense in the NFL. If it wasn't 32, it was 31 for sure. So now it's going to get even worse because Trey is going to be gone. Let me know, where do you think Trey lands? What landing spots do you have? I would love for it to be on the Detroit Lions. I have been campaigning for Trey Hendrickson since the man was literally in his 20s. So, and I think the reuniting with Dan Campbell would be great, and it would help give something that my team does not have, which is a capable pass rusher, consistent pass rusher outside of Aiden Hutchinson. I think it would be a great bookend, but Brad Holmes is not going to do that. So let me know, who do you think does? Where do you think Trey Hendrickson lands for 2026? And what do you think his next contract is going to be? Do you think Spot Track is close? They are usually spot on, pun intended. They're usually within a few million, man, whether it's length or millions. They're really, really close. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Subscribe to the channel, man. Going to try to be more consistent over here. I have multiple channels, but I really love the NFL. I've been trying to be consistent on this channel, and I'm going to make that as a priority. All right, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.